going to take all that we've done in modules 1 through 4 and put it together in the form of the first draft of your critical analysis essay. The two other assignments for this week that are graded are is the feedback and revision reflection and the revision needs check. Now, when considering your paper and the revision process, there's large-scale and small-scale revisions. Large-scale revisions concern the organization of your ideas, the filling out of ideas by supporting them with evidence and analysis of the evidence, and that's primarily what you're going to be considering first when you work on this rough draft. You have your writing plan, which has the foundations for this paper, but it needs to be reorganized and fleshed out. So when you return to your draft, begin by assessing the paper as a whole. Is your thesis statement clearly stated? Remember, your thesis statement should fully respond to the prompt for this paper, which is essentially what is the author's central message or idea, and do you think he or she effectively argues for that idea or conveys that idea? So your thesis statement should answer those two questions in one sentence. Also, do your major points support your thesis statement? Each body paragraph should contain points that you make that, when taken together, they support the overall argument of your paper. And have you summarized opposing viewpoints? So when it asks some challenges that the author might face regarding audience, that's what you want to think about when you think about the opposing viewpoints. And then to think about, has the author satisfactorily overcome those or been able to reach those people? And then have you summarized potential objections? So those two go together, or they can be lumped together. Small-scale revisions are more at the sentence paragraph level. Are your sentences grammatically complete? Do you vary your sentences in style and length? That one there is important, otherwise your paper is going to sound very robotic. So you want to make sure you have short sentences, long sentences, and some sentences of medium length. Have you used punctuation correctly? One punctuation mark to avoid in this paper is an exclamation point. Don't use exclamation points in academic writing unless you're quoting and the quotation has a exclamation point. Is your language specific enough or too vague? Is your tone appropriate? Do you understand the meaning of the words you used? And are there any homonym errors like its versus its? So those are just some of the things that you'd want to consider on the small scale side of things. So you want to start with large scale and move to small scale. There's a video on real world revision, so I encourage you to watch that. There's a transcript that goes with it. And then the first graded assignment for this module is feedback and revision reflection. Overall, this module, you learned about some different strategies for revising your writing. That's the large scale and small scale. In this assignment, you will review your instructor's feedback on your 3-2 writing plan and consider how you will incorporate that feedback to further develop your thoughts as you prepare to write your first draft of the critical analysis essay. For this reflection assignment, you will make some choices about your approach to the critical analysis essay based on your understanding of revision and the feedback to your writing plan provided by the instructor. Specifically, the following critical elements must be addressed. Think about your experiences with revision in the past, which approaches to revision worked well for you, what revision strategy for Module 5 content would you like to try when revising, review your writing plan and feedback provided by the instructor. How does this feedback influence your ideas about the selected reading? What changes will you make to your analysis now that you've received the outside feedback? In Module 5, you will reflect upon the feedback provided by your instructor and prepare to complete your first draft. So you want to do this obviously before you do the first draft, because you want to be thinking about what it is that how you're going to approach that writing plan in order to get it to the first draft. There's the guidelines for submission, as always, Word document, Times New Roman, size 12 font, 1-inch margins. Check your writing for errors, and the rubric down here lets you know just how I am going to be assessing it. And moving along, I think my computer's thinking. Bear with me. Well, after this, when it pops up, you're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of the paper itself. You want to make sure that you very carefully read the prompt for the paper. task definition is crucial when completing assignments, and a lot of people will look at instructions or prompts, and they think that they know what they're supposed to do, and they dive right into it, but they actually haven't taken the time to really fully digest what's being asked of them, and so their paper often will lack something significant, and their grade as a result lacks something significant too. So just that's the most important thing that you can do for this paper, is understand what is being asked of you. Maybe even rewrite it in your own words, so that way you not only know what the prompt's asking, but you've written it in such a way that when you come back to it, it's perhaps more helpful to you. So for the paper, rough draft, there's a rubric. The rubric is rather forgiving for the first draft, but just know that whatever grade you receive on the first draft isn't necessarily indicative of what you will receive on the final draft if you don't look at the feedback and make some of the changes that are suggested. I won't suggest anything that is not necessary or not going to help improve what you've produced and make it even sharper. So look at the feedback carefully when you get to the point of revising this paper. And here we go. Yay, that was a little bit of a delay, but so you have the prompt right here. Like I said, read it, make sure you really know it. And then down here, it talks about the critical elements you must address. You must have an introduction. You must have body paragraphs, multiple body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Guidelines for submission, so that it should be 1 to 2 pages in length. Really, you should be hitting at least 2 if you're really engaging the article. Size 12 font, times New Roman. Check your writing for errors, then submit. And here are the characteristics of a paper that is proficient, needs improvement, or that is lacking in the sense that certain critical elements are not evident. And so that one is the most significant assignment for this module. And then there's the temperature check, revision needs. So you have 2 attempts, and you want to click begin, and then click on the questions and respond to each question. Like I said, you have 2 chances. So if you hit some bumps the first time around, just make sure that you review all the material before coming back to it. Right, and that is it for Module 5. I will talk to you folks later this week.